In the world of luxury pocket knives with fast and fidget-friendly locking mechanisms, does the frame lock even have a place anymore? That's what we're going to answer, or at least attempt to, on episode 217 of today's Knife AQ series, where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. That and more, right after this. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson from the KnifeCenter. Welcome to the show. That's Thomas behind the camera, as usual.
Crypto.
Oh gosh, don't remind me. Thank you for everyone for continuing to watch our channel, even after the crypto scammers hit us and YouTube took the channel down. Thankfully, we're back up, but our views have flatlined since after that. I think YouTube is not recommending us, which is very unfortunate.
Subscribe.
Please do, actually. We're, it would have been a shame to have lost our 480-ish thousand subscribers. Anyway, enough about us. This series is about you folks, because we do answer your questions and we take them from the comments section below these videos. So if you've got a question and you think we might like to consider it for a future episode, or even if you don't think we would like to consider it, comment section below. Drop it down there, please and thank you. First question. Chris Dunn. I've always admired the Sebenza and other knives of similar status. Here we go. A grail knife for many for a long time, of course. But as time has gone on and new finger-safe lock mechanisms have saturated the market, I've found myself wanting and not wanting a large Sebenza. Is there anything out there that is Sebenza caliber that offers a finger-safe locking mechanism? And also, why does it seem that whenever a knife is considered premium, it comes mainly as a titanium frame lock? Good question, Chris. I'll answer the second part of your question first, I think. Why, whenever a knife is considered premium, it comes so often as a titanium frame lock? I think it is because of the Sebenza. At least that's the argument I'm going to put forth here today. Especially for folks newer to the hobby and or folks that might not care for the Sebenza, it might be easy to forget or having never realized just how huge of a presence and influence this knife was on expensive knives. We'll just call it that, on higher end knife design and manufacture. I mean, the Chris Reeve knives, positively loomed over every other expensive luxury knife player in the market for such a prolonged period of time that the frame lock became, the thing. Actually, it might be easy to forget that the Chris Reeve Sebenza is the knife that introduced the world to the titanium frame lock. It was the Reeve Integral Lock, as Spyderco properly credits it nowadays. Chris Reeve invented the frame lock and dominated with their precision manufacturing and keen eye for design, I would argue, over the years as well. So that is kind of the thing there. We talk about, you say finger-safe locking mechanisms. I like to refer to them as locking mechanisms with finger-safe closing action, meaning, I'll show one here, your fingers never cross the path of the blade when you're closing the knife. It's just a nice thing. But even Benchmade, with this Benchmade Presidio, they had the axis lock exclusively for a long time. When they tried to do something that was Sebenza-like, they didn't even attempt to do it with the axis lock. They did stuff like the Bradley Alias was made by Benchmade. That was kind of their stab, no pun intended, at a Sebenza competitor. And it was a titanium frame lock. It just was, the thing to dethrone. And that's why I think you see so much of it, even now to this day. It's kind of hard to break out of that habit, so to speak. But I like you, I'm a fan of finger-safe closing mechanisms. So what can you look for? If you're looking for something that kind of exhibits the same blend of ruggedness as well as refinement as the Sebenza, but you want a finger-safe closing action, I do have a few options here for you. Let's start with, if you just want one suggestion, this would be it. Like, I'm gonna show you more because it'd be boring if I just show you one thing, right? But I think the Tactile Knife Company Maverick, I almost called it the Rockwell, another one of their models. The Maverick, which is a Richard Rogers design, is probably the closest facsimile, or not even that, like the closest in experience to a Sebenza with a, in this case, crossbar lock. It's also about $349, so it's about 150 bucks cheaper than the Sebenza, yet it has the same handle material, titanium, and the same blade steel, MagnaCut in this case. Size is roughly similar. It's maybe a tiny bit smaller, tiny bit less sharpened edge, but only just. There you go. I think the Sebenza might feel just a little better in my hand. The Maverick is a little thin for my tastes personally. Not necessarily for everybody. That's just my feel with my particular hand shape there. But the reason this takes the lead or gets closer, I think, to a Sebenza-like experience over anything else I've got on the table is washers in the pivot as opposed to ball bearings, which is kind of a classic Sebenza feel. I say feel because it is a feature, but it's so responsible for that slow kind of just smoothness of the Sebenza. Sebenza's never been fast. Some of these knives here are going to be faster for sure, but you've got that same feel with, or can't be the same because we're dealing with a completely different lock feel, but the pivot feel comes so close to that too. So this would be, I think, a really good option. The geometry on it's good. The size compares really favorably. These are made in Texas. These are made in Idaho, the Sebenzas, of course. So you're still getting a Western state US manufacturer and a significant discount in price there, 150 bucks. So check that out. Another thing you could take a look at is the Kunwu Chad. And this, with its sheepsfoot blade, obviously would compete more closely with the other blade shape. Got them around here somewhere.
Would you just label those?
No, I don't want to. I like doing this.
This makes for great radio.
Oh, I must have it under R for Reeve. Yep, there we go. Grab the right one. Discontinued exclusive with the Insingo blade, however, but yeah, there you go. You know, that's obviously a closer competitor to that particular blade shape. But these are actually really cool and priced really well for what you're getting too. The steel here is PM60, which is a powder metallurgy tool steel. I'm actually not terribly familiar with it, but it is high performance, I do know that. Price on this knife is about $259 here. You've got nicely, intricately milled G10 titanium handles. And I should say I kept all of the knife handles in this comparison here to titanium. So if you've got another thought of something like it that's not titanium, it could be a valid comparison, but I stuck to just titanium here in this case. But really cool diamond texture on the titanium there. Your choice of pocket clips. You've got the milled pocket clip here or a wire pocket clip, and they can both be reversed and used in this same hole. It's really neat the way they kind of engineered their system right there. None of these things are going to have that 2 retention pinch point that the traditional bent clip of the Sebenza has, but you can get a new metal injection molded version of that, which is kind of cool too. If you like that kind of milled titanium look, that is an option now available. Link in the description if you want to get your hands on one. Action on these are nice. Ball bearings in the pivot here, but really nice action overall and impeccable feel on this knife too. Next, you could look at the Pyrotech Kraken, which would also be more competitive or more comparable to the Insingo blade shape on the Sebenza, but you can definitely see there's some pretty clear distinction or pretty clear inspiration from the Sebenza here. It is a little bit smaller, 3.22 inch blade, and you can see that difference in sharpened length right there. 300 bucks for this. Titanium handles with a bead blasted finish, kind of a hallmark of Sebenzas for so many years, that bead blasted finish. S90V blade steel, so not as tough as the MagnaCut currently used on the Sebenza, but edge holding should be higher. And you got the crossbar lock with ball bearings in the pivot. I keep saying washers by accident. And $300 for this knife as well. It is imported, I should mention, for those of you who are looking for an American-made knife here. The calling card of this knife, however, where it kind of does its own thing, is the scales. There we go. They're held on magnetically. So they're theoretically swappable too. You could do fun things with them or buy some things to freshen up the rest of your knife without buying a whole new knife. And then you got that milled clip as well on the back. Next up, let's talk about some button locks now that we've shown the crossbars. The ZT44 is a cool new one, recently introduced this year. Again, blade a little bit shorter. We're talking 3.2 inches here. So it's not quite the same size as a full-sized Sebenza, but it gives a similar kind of quality feel to it, I think. The blade maybe feels a little just like a couple percentage points less refined because you have a more basic belt finish on the blade versus the stone-washed finish on this, or the more highly refined satin finishes on the Sebenza. I don't have an example of that here in front of me though. Titanium handles, really great button lock action. I mean, really nice and snappy. We always talk about ProTech and their Malibu being kind of the pinnacle of button lock actions out there because they kind of kickstarted the whole modern button lock flipper revolution. And they're still kind of the standard by which I think all the rest should be judged. And this is right up there with that. I mean, really, really good action on this knife. S45 VN steel, 3.2 inches long, as mentioned, $340 for this knife. It is reversible clipped. It is reversibly clipped. It has a clip that is reversible for left or right and is mostly deep carry. Not quite as classy looking as the Sebenza clip, but lefty friendly too, and finger safe closing action, which is the whole reason we're here, right? Really cool EDC right here. The other company that I think across the board is doing great things with their premium button locks, and that's We Knife Company. This is one of the limited edition versions of the 70211, the XI version. This one's $374, and size-wise, we're a little bit longer. It's an almost 4-inch blade, but sharpened edge compared to the Sebenza is very, very close between the two. But take your pick of any of their titanium button locks. The size may be a little off from the Sebenza, but they're all built super, super well. They're not all integral though. This one being integral like this really takes things up to the next level, even above the kind of experience you could get with a Sebenza. Very, very nice knife overall. Also really good action on this one too. And really comfortable handles, probably the most comfortable on the table of the folders. And to tell the truth, one of the most comfortable folding knives I've ever had the pleasure of holding. It just is really nice. It's ergonomically well considered. It is a complex shape. It's not just being integral like that, which removes a few opportunities for hot spots. The whole thing is just perfectly ergonomically considered. Very nice. Next up, one more button lock, the Artisan Cutlery Andromeda, which is a Ray Laconico design. $200 for this knife. Titanium handles, 3.42-inch S35 VN blade. So toughness, not quite what you get with a Sebenza, but edge retention not far off. It's only slightly less sharpened edge there. Overall blade lengths are pretty similar too. And a little bit more kind of slim and gentlemanly than the Sebenza also, as you can see there, but still feels good. Might not feel quite the same for a kind of a harder working knife, which despite the cost and premium image, Sebenzas have always been renowned for actually working hard. So keep that in mind too. But these are really cool knives, milled clip, finger safe locking action with that button lock right there. And I think a very cool blade shape. Next up, a couple of dorsal style locks to take a look at. How about the Cold Steel FM1, the Full Metal Atlas? Very recently new to us here at the Knife Center. Just last week, it was in our new knives video, in fact. $250 for this. Titanium handles, S35 VN blade. Let me hold it up next to the old Sebenza right there. So overall length is pretty close. You definitely have less sharpened edge, however, here. Even though 3.5 versus 3.6 tip to scale blade length there is similar, you got more space kind of used up in the FM1 right here. And the handles, I think, could be mentioned in the same conversation with the Sebenza for sure. The blade feels a little softer around the edges, perhaps, not at the actual edge itself, but the way this is tumbled kind of, puts like a glazed feel over their blade. If you're familiar with the way Cold Steel tumbles their stuff, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's similar to others that they have done. But the Atlas lock on here, is indeed offering finger-safe closing action right there. We call it dorsal style because, you know, the Demko Shark Lock, of course, really kickstarted this similar genre of locks. And even though this is functionally a little bit different, I think it's a good name for them anyway. The 80-20.5, we've had titanium versions of that knife in the past. Feels maybe a little more away from like the refined style of the Sebenza, but I'll mention it here even so. But we don't have any titanium ones in the site right now. But the Full Metal Atlas is really cool. It is significantly thinner than the Sebenza though. So you get less sharpened edge, less, what was I gonna say? Less thick feel in the hand for harder work. But it is, I mean, what is it? Half price. You could get 2 of these for 1 Sebenza at this point in time. Do with that what you will. Fully ambidextrous too, with the reversible clip on this one. This next one's a little bit out of left field, perhaps. The Sandrin Monza. Titanium handles, the Snex Super Lock. I think they call it the recoil lock in this case, but it is spine mounted, another dorsal style lock right there. A little bit thinner, but yet somehow more grip filling than the Full Metal Atlas, but not quite as much as the Sebenza. But look at how thin that blade is right there. We're talking a polyhedral tungsten carbide blade, not steel. So it's not a tough thing that you could really go real ham on, but it is possessing of really, really high edge retention and really fine slicing capabilities due to its thin geometry. And the blade shape is very, very Sebenza-like, as you can see right there. Very cool knife, however. Last but not least, we're kind of going to come full circle a little bit. Another knife that is new to me as of this past week, and I'm trying to stop thinking about this knife because I don't have the money right now to buy this knife, and I really want this knife very badly, or at least one of them. The Remet Meteor. And this is actually a frame lock, just like the Sebenza. But they've given a push tab with a pass-through in the handle here so you can actuate it just like a button lock, meaning you've got finger-safe closing action. $278 for this one. You've got M390, 3¼ inch drop point blade. Might even call that a spear point. See where that, it's almost centerline anyway. Really cool silver twill inlays on this one with titanium. Yes, it is a little bit smaller, of course, than the Sebenza, but it's so cool. Like, it's so cool. And it has kind of that same, you know, this is a fancier version, but it has kind of that same blend of refined yet kind of hard working, at least to me. The design just speaks to me really nicely. And you've got that classic premium frame lock with button lock or even button actuated compression lock type of feel going on. I like it. Here's where we go to the comment section though. To the second part of Chris's question, which I hope these suggestions give you something cool to look at. Should titanium frame locks be the default for premium knives or not? Take it away, comment section. Now we come to our next segment. Damyr's buried treasure for today, which thanks to his prompting in this series, we're going through the alphabet for the second time right now, showing you something that's never been on the channel before. We're on the letter I today. And I have, if I can find my tab, there it is, the Imacasa Camp Axe. This is a really, it's cool in that it is very high quality for the money you're paying to get it. $16 for this knife. And Imacasa is the same.
It's not a knife.
Whatever. It's got an edge. It's a knife. Anything on this table is a knife. This computer is a knife.
Sure, David.
$16 for this small hatchet right here. It's a basic design, but everything about it is built very, very well. It's made in El Salvador. Imacasa is the company that makes the Condor knife and tool stuff. So you've got the same materials here. The fit and finish on it is quite nice, especially considering you're paying $16. You know, it's not Sebenza levels of fit and finish, but it's also $16. And this satisfies the need for a basic high quality axe. If you go to into any hardware store nowadays, the cheap hatchets that you can find there are not quite this good, and they're usually a little bit more expensive. You will, however, with this hatchet right here, or knife, whatever you want to call it, you will have to do what you typically have to do with most inexpensive hardware store hatchets, which is something you have to do with most axes and hatchets that you could pick up and purchase for many decades now. You will have to put the final edge on it yourself. This is not really ready to go. You could split with it, but it's not going to be cutting very efficiently. It's not going to be chopping cross grain very efficiently. But it's $16, and all the bones are there for a lifetime tool. That's pretty cool as far as I'm concerned.
Works on bones too.
No comment.
Chicken bones.
Let's get to our lightning round for today, shall we? Odd Savage asks, "Sup, crew? Quick question. My brother is a big, strong, left-handed gent. He likes crossbar locks because of their ambidextrous function. He's also hard on his knives. What do you guys have with an X-bar that is large in hand, heavy-duty, lefty pocket clip, and preferably sub $200? Thanks, team." I have the perfect suggestion for you here. It happens to be one of my favorite knives in Benchmade's lineup, the Presidio 2. It is exactly $200 at this point in time. You've got a 3 3/4 inch blade. It's S30V. It's thick enough there to be quite durable. And the handles here are built for anyone who's got large hands, or even slightly larger than average like myself. CF Elite is the handle material. It's lightweight and strong. It's a carbon fiber reinforced nylon. You've got a long handle there. I mean, I've got a full, I could have 5 fingers plus my thumb, another extra finger right here, and I'd still have plenty of handle to grip onto. And even if I had 6 fingers plus my thumb, I could be hanging off the back with no problem and still have a solid grip. Crossbar lock, it's finger safe closing, and it's lefty friendly, and you got the reversible deep carry pocket clip. Very cool, very useful knife, and I think right up your alley, or your brother's alley. Alexander Dmitriev asks, "Hey DCA, what are the purposes of the Kershaw Tumbler and Natrix?" I'm going to be sarcastic and say to cut things. Seriously, though, however, they're two very distinct and distinctly different blade shapes. The modified Wharncliffe of the Natrix is really good if you need to use the tip for penetration or any kind of dragging cuts with the tip on a surface, especially dragging or scoring cuts. And with a mostly flat edge here, it works really nicely on push cuts, stationary push cuts especially. Whereas the blade of the Tumbler, Dmitry Sinkovich design, with so much belly, really excels at slicing cuts, like pulling through as opposed to pushing through a cut, and sawing and rocking through if you need to. This type of geometry lends itself better to that than the Natrix's blade shape. Hope that helps.
They cut things.
Coming right down to it, they cut things. They each cut things a little differently than the other, but they cut things. Well, now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most seriousest question of the day from Kevin Stryker. Most serious question. It is raining a lot where I live. What bladed implement could I carry every day that could not ever slip out of my hands no matter how hard it rains? Let me introduce you to the Big Fixie from Jesse James. It's about $900 on the site right now. You got a 9.5 inch A2 blade, and it's actually single piece blade to handle. And the reason, however, it also has a hollow handle, so you can do that Rambo stuff for sure. The reason this will never slip out of your hand, no matter what, is because this knife was not actually made or designed to be held in the hand, or at least the bare hand. You'll want to wear gloves when wearing this, and it's because of this aggressive milling in it right here. You can actually hear how crispy these are. Watch. Yeah. Borderline uncomfortable, actually not it's uncomfortable to hold without a glove on. If you've got a pair of gloves on, you ain't slipping off of this no matter what. It also remove calluses in a pinch, which could be handy.
Is the lanyard dead, I guess? Is the lanyard dead?
I don't understand.
I was going to recommend you get a lanyard.
That's too actually serious as opposed to most serious.
Most of the way serious.
That's all we've got for today, folks. Keep your questions and your most seriousest questions coming in the comments below. If you got any alternate suggestions, drop them below as well. And tell me, frame locks, yay or nay? Should they be all taken out behind the barn and shot? Or do they still have a place? Or is there somewhere in between?
Like lanyards.
Like lanyards, yes. That's all we've got. If you want to get your hands on any of these items, check out the links in the description, which will, of course, take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program or our new options for Sezzle payment at checkout if you want to split up payments into more manageable chunks. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time.